You might want something that is Christmassy, something that puts you in the Christmas mood, in the Christmas spirit, but you want it queer. I got you. I feel like I'm back home with these characters. I love them so much because they just, had friendship chemistry, if that's a thing. I think it's a thing. It should be a thing. And sparks. Sparks ensue. These two, right? They do things. Again, the audiobook, right? Hello my lovely readers and queers, welcome back to my channel for another 12 Days of Booksmas video. My name is Franny and today I would like to recommend to you some books that I think would be perfect to be read at this time of the year for the winter season, which honestly for me it's the best season. Maybe fall comes first, but you have Christmas during the winter season, so I mean, how can you compete, right? The winter is the best. Specifically, I have book recommendations for three themes, three vibes that you might want to find in a book that you might want to read at this time of the year. And those vibes are cozy and heartwarming, found family, and last but not least, cherry on top, the queer Christmas. Because you might want something that is Christmassy, something that puts you in the Christmas mood, in the Christmas spirit, but you want it queer. And honestly, that's literally what I'm here for. I got you. I recommend you watch the whole video because these are all great books according to yours truly. But if you're interested in one of these vibes specifically, you will find the timestamps and the chapters or whatever they're called in the description down below. And without further ado, let's get started. Cozy and heartwarming, and that is why I'm wearing this thing that might be a PJ, but I don't use it as a PJ, so technically it's not a PJ. I'm gonna start with the coziest thing that I could think of and that I've recently read, and that's why it's on my mind and it lives in my mind rent-free. Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne. This is a queer sapphic cozy fantasy book, and we follow two women, Reina, who is part of the elite guards who sworn their lives to protect the Queen of the Queendom, and the other one, Kianth, is a very strong, powerful mage. Something happens to Reina and she realizes that she does not want to be a guard anymore. It's not really worth it. It's not what she wants. What she wants is to spend her life with Kianth because they're in love. They decide to move to a small town to open a bookshop that also sells tea and pastries and all these things. And so we follow them on this journey that is not without peril because technically guards cannot leave their posts behind. They have sworn their lives to the queen, and Reina ran away from all that, so she kind of has to keep her identity a secret. And there are some other things happening with the dragons and the mages and all that stuff, so it is a very, very cozy fantasy. But personally to me, in a cozy fantasy, it is important to not forget about the fantasy aspect. I want it to be cozy, but I also want just a little bit of adventure that doesn't have too high stakes, and this is the perfect balance for me. This is absolutely perfect. And also what I loved so much about this book is that we follow two characters that are already in love. They have been in a relationship for I think a year. It's an established couple. They are still getting to know each other, but they've also worked through some issues, and we see that in how they are with each other in their relationship. And that does not happen often. We don't often see that in books. They have such a healthy relationship going because they have learned from each other what they need and what they want and how they are and act, their personalities and everything. And I just love Kianth and Reina so much, and I cannot wait to read the second book in this series. I need to do that soon. I don't know if I can wait till next summer, which is when I wanted to read it, but we shall see. I loved this book so much. Absolutely recommend. And if you can, if you like it, if you have the possibility to do so, please do yourselves a huge favor and listen to the audiobook, because Jessica Threet, the narrator, is incredible, out of this world. Such an incredible performance. She does different voices for Kianth and Reina, and she pulls them off so good. So good. Another cozy book recommendation is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is another cozy fantasy book where we follow a librarian, Kila, and she is also running away. She is fleeing the library where she was working at because it was set on fire by rebels, and so she grabs a bunch of boxes with books that she wants to protect, and she flees back to her hometown, which is an island far away from the Empire, with a spider plant as her companion. And they settle in what used to be her home, her family cottage, and they try and start a new life in this new town. She opens a gem shop and she starts to get to know the townspeople, even though she is very much introverted and she doesn't really like other people. This one is more like Legends and Lattes if we look at the coziness level. The world building and this whole thing that is happening with the rebels and with the Empire, we don't really get into that almost at all. It is really in the background. It just provides the reason for her to leave and go back to her hometown, basically. I listened to the audiobook of this one as well. It was narrated by Caitlin Davis and she is incredible again. So if you want to pick it up, I do recommend the audiobook. And my last cozy recommendation is The Maid by Nita Prose. I have talked about this book and this series many times, but it's because I love it so much. It is really good. This one is a cozy mystery. We follow a maid, an autistic maid who works at the Regency Hotel in New York, and she just stumbles onto crimes and she has her part in trying to solve them. And specifically, I want to give a shout out to the novella that came out this year, The Mistletoe Mystery. It is 2 hours and a half long. I'm talking about the audiobook, or maybe 2 hours. I'm not so sure. But again, I've listened to the audiobooks of these books in this series. They're narrated by Lauren Ambrose and she's so good. She really captures Molly's voice so well that I cannot but recommend the audiobooks. But as I was saying, I do recommend specifically the novella because it is Christmas themed. It is perfect for this time of the year, and you don't really need to have read the second book, The Mystery Guest. As long as you have read the first one and you kind of know who the characters are, you actually don't really need to have read the first book because I feel like they're introduced well enough in the novella as well. So if you wanted, you could start with that and see if you like the characters and if you like the writing. So you get a taste of that, and if you like it, then you move on to the series. The mystery is not a crime in the novella, but the novella does have that coziness that you will find in the actual novels of this series as well. So I think it's worth a try, and it is so Christmassy. Perfect for this time of the year. Now we move on to the found family. I love books with found family. They just speak to my heart. I love them. And I have 2 book recommendations for this one. I might have more, but I wanted to try and stick to books that also fit this time of the year. First up is Iona Iverson's Rules for Commuting by Claire Pooley. In this book, we follow 5 characters who enter each other's lives because they take the same train every morning when they're commuting to and back from work. The main character is Iona Iverson, who is an old black lesbian lady who used to be a very big deal in the journalists' world. She used to have a gossip column and she ran it for like 20-30 years or something like that. We have an older man who works at a bank or has to deal with investments or something. We have a male nurse who is doing his residency, a younger woman who works in advertising, and then a teenage girl who is going to high school. And when they all meet on this train, they start talking about their problems and trying to help each other out. And it is not set during the Christmas time, but it has this goodness, this want to genuinely help other people so that their lives can be better, and that's a very Christmas spirit if you ask me. So absolutely recommend for this time of the year. Also, again, I recommend the audiobook. This one is narrated by Claire Corbett and she was amazing. She really brought Iona Iverson to life. She was a delight to listen to. And the other book I want to recommend for found family is extremely underrated because I'm not seeing it anywhere, but it is so good and it really does have a found family. These characters are literally a crew and they are and act like a family. And I'm talking about Cascade Failure by L.M. Sagas. Long story short, because it could get very complicated with this one, this is a sci-fi book in which we follow a crew that is made up of 4 characters. We have the muscly man, who is the blunt force of the crew, but he is so sweet and so kind-hearted. Oh my goodness, don't even get me started on Saint. He is the best. Nash, a woman who is both the mechanic and the doctor of the crew. Then we have Jal, who is supposedly a deserter, and there's a whole backstory going on with him. And then we have Ewan, who is the captain, a centuries-old artificial intelligence being, but basically human. Anyways, we have this crew of characters, and they are trying to stop someone from spreading a computer virus that was created to kill other planets. So there's a lot of adventure going on, and I am recommending this book in this video because it makes me think of Guardians of the Galaxy, which makes me think of Boxing Day, which makes me think of staying at home and watching, these crazy, adventurous, incredibly funny movies. And instead of doing that, or together with that, you could read this book and have the exact same vibe going on, because these characters are hilarious. The banter is one of the best. You know that friendship banter, right? Where you have friends who have known each other for years and years, and just watching them talk to one another is absolutely hilarious. It cracks you up. And that's exactly what you get with this book. And I loved it so much. And I'm actually currently, at the time of filming this anyway, I am currently listening to the sequel, Gravity Lost. And I feel like I'm back home with these characters. I love them so much. Absolutely recommend. Now I have a book that is actually the perfect transition from found family to queer Christmas. And this perfect book that I'm talking about is The Orphans Christmas Club by Becca Freeman. In this book, we are following a group of 4 friends who, for one reason or another, cannot spend Christmas with their family, either because they don't have their family anymore, because they do not speak to their family, as I've said, different reasons. And so for 10 years, they have been spending Christmas together as their own family. This Christmas, the one that we have in this book, might be their last one together, because one of these friends is moving away, another one is about maybe to be engaged, and so things might change the dynamic within this group of friends. And so we see them as they try to deal with all these changes and process how their lives are actually changing. But we also see their past Christmases, how they became friends, how they entered each other's lives as the years went by, and how they celebrated the different Christmases. And so this is a very Christmas field book. You don't just get one Christmas, you witness many throughout time, and that was so nice and lovely and very, very Christmassy once again. So absolutely perfect for the Christmas time and for the found family trope theme. Moving fully into the queer Christmas vibe, I have for you Stay Another Day by Juno Dawson. I haven't mentioned this book in a while, but I do have a review for it up on my channel, which is pretty old, but I'm going to link to it anyway because it is still valid. It's not like it expires. In this book, we are following the McAllister siblings as they come back home for the holidays, and they have their own shit going on. There's lots of drama happening because they do not really want to be back home for the holidays, but they are going back home for the holidays. Kind of a very different take on the Home Alone movie. We also have some chapters written by the house's perspective, which was very interesting to read, a very nice addition to the book. But much less, let's have fun planning to try and stop these robbers from coming in and rob the place, and more, oh shit, there's a lot of heavy drama going on, because this is Juno Dawson's book, so you can expect the drama to be there. There's a lot of dark humor in it, but it is also heavy, but it is also funny and very Christmassy, and I loved it so much. And it's Juno Dawson. You know that it's going to be well written. You know that you're gonna have so much representation, queer representation, diverse representation, social commentary, everything in it, because Juno Dawson does that. So absolutely recommend. And once again, I do recommend wholeheartedly the audiobook for this one as well. Let me check what the narrators are, because I don't remember. There is not gonna be a day where I mention an audiobook on this channel and I don't tell you who the narrators are. Narrators are so underappreciated, and it really pisses me off. It makes me mad. Okay, the narrators for Stay Another Day are Danny Holmes and Carrie Thomason. They were incredible. I loved them so much. And if you do have the chance, please listen to the audiobook of this book. Read it because it's great, but if you can, the audiobook I think is the way to go. Then I want to mention very quickly Make You Mine This Christmas by Lizzie Huxley Jones. And I say very quickly because I've already talked about this book in my Queerly Tweetathon TBR for the 14th round. So if you want to know more, you can actually watch that video. This is the book in a nutshell. Basically, we have a young woman, our main character, who is not going back home for the holidays because their parents thought that she had plans, and so they also have plans now. And she meets a guy at a party, they kiss, there's no chemistry, but they become fast friends because they just, had friendship chemistry, if that's a thing. I think it's a thing. It should be a thing. And he's going back home for the holidays. He does not want to go alone because he recently broke up with his girlfriend, and so they decide to go and fake date and pretend to be boyfriend and girlfriend. When they get there, our protagonist falls in love with this guy's sister. The sister thinks that they're actually together, like a real couple, because they didn't tell her that they were fake dating and stuff. And so you can imagine what happens. And this is the book. It was so much fun. They're Christmassy. Totally recommend. And the last book on this list that I absolutely loved, I was so upset when I was listening to the audiobook of this one, okay? I was so obsessed. I literally devoured it in 3 days. I think it was 9 hours long or something. And while I was listening to it, and even when I wasn't listening to it, I could not think of anything else. I was absolutely obsessed because it was that good. It was that addicting, and oh my goodness, listening to the audiobook was a whole experience. Let me tell you, Ellis Evans, the narrator, was out of this world. I loved his performance so much. Anyways, I am talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas by Sarah Rash, and this is, I want to say, a new adult queer romance where we follow the Prince of Christmas, Cole, who is kind of forced by his father, Santa Claus, into an engagement with the Princess of Easter. It is kind of a fake engagement in the sense that the engagement is real and they will get married on Christmas Eve because of political reasons that I really didn't care about that much, but they do not have feelings for each other. And for political and publicity reasons, the Christmas kingdom, reign, whatever, makes up a story where both the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween are vying for the princess's hand. And so the Prince of Halloween temporarily moves to the Christmas court, and that's where Cole and Hex, who is the Prince of Halloween, meet again, and sparks ensue. And my goodness, those two, let me tell you, okay, this book is steamy, it's hot, it's very Christmassy because it is set at the Christmas realm. I didn't really care about the politics. I didn't really pay too much attention to the world building. The reason behind this forced engagement is that Easter and Christmas wanted to become allies, to be more powerful and get more joy from people. Something like, I don't really care. It really doesn't matter, to be honest. It didn't really matter to me. It was the backstory and the thing that caused these forbidden romance to happen, which is, what I was interested in. So there's that. These two, right, Hex and Cole, they do things and they speak to one another in ways, right, that make you feel things and make you tear up and cry from joy. And at times they hurt your heart because you want them to be together and happy, and things happen. And I really was sucked in to this romance, and I absolutely recommend it. It is perfect for this time of the year. It is engaging, it is addicting, you will devour it, it'll make you feel so happy and so in love with love, right? Capital L. And I loved it so much. So absolutely recommend. And again, the audiobook, right? And this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching it. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun choosing these books and filming it and just thinking back to these books that I've recommended. They're so good, and talking about them and spreading the love makes me so happy. So there's that. Please let me know in the comments if you have read any of these, if you liked them or not, and let me know what books you would recommend to read at this time of the year and why. I would love to know. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon with another 12 Days of Booksmas video, but until then, have a good one, take care, and keep reading queer books, obviously. Warm hugs. Bye!